Good morning. It's March 22nd, 2023. Just going to leave a quick few pointers here this morning. Today is Fed Day, FOMC, rate decision, very, very important day. However, we've seen multiple banks fail in the past week alone. I think there have been 5 banks, major banks. And what I see happening is a consolidation of banks right now, moving towards the center. I talked about this when I spoke about the patient in systemic shock. So the banking system has been deliberately engineered into a systemic shock, and rate hikes was used to facilitate that, so to speak. I'm not going to explain rate hikes and all of that detail, but banks took on long-term debt when money was cheap, when rates were zero. Now that rates have hiked over the past several months, they can't basically keep up with the debt, keep up with what's on their books. Therefore, they have, quote, borrowed from the Fed. They're borrowing in a very high risk way right now from the Fed through the discount window, and you can look these things all up. All the things I talk about, you can just look them up. But all that said, there's a deliberate manufactured, engineered plan to consolidate the banks, it seems, and to move us to a new system. So it's got to happen in steps, right? And they have to use a lot of distractions while they're doing those steps. We know that COVID was the initiation of the tribulation of the world. And we see the seriousness of the things happening in the world. The WAR is being used majorly, and I believe will continue to be used to facilitate this plan as well. I don't think that WAR is going to get better. I think we're going to see it spread as wide as the world. And I know the world is involved, but I think it's going to be definitely affecting the entire world in different ways, in more ways, not just financially, but I think it's going to touch the whole world. There's an anti-Christ or an anti-view that's going on as well right now, and I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but it's kind of a darkness to light view, and you could call it an anti-Christ. Basically, there's a company of people that believe that all the debt's going to be wiped away in the year of Jubilee, because we're in the year of Jubilee, or we've just passed the year of Jubilee. But many people believe that the debt's going to be wiped away, because there is no other way to really deal with the debt. Either the whole world implodes and it goes into poverty and depression for at least a decade, or somehow the debt is wiped away and restarted. But how does that really happen? So, somebody's got to pay the price. There is no magic equation. If you're in a business and you're owed money from somebody and that person's debt is wiped away, who's going to pay you for what's owed to you? You understand what I'm saying here? So how are they going to wipe all the debt away and just restart the slate? I don't really know how that's going to work, but there's a lot of different mindsets going on here. And I'll do another video on that because I don't have time right now. But, we may see a rate hike today, and I do believe we're going to. Many believe they're going to pause rates because of what's happening with the banking system. But I believe they want more banks to fail. And I believe they want to consolidate the banks and push banking towards central banking more and more and more. They don't need the banks, the regional banks anymore. So, and that doesn't just happen in a straight line. Nothing goes up and down in a straight line. Nothing's going to happen in a straight line. So we could actually see a counter move today in the markets. Very surprisingly, the markets could go up, because that's what they do. And they wipe everybody out because everybody's going one way in a trade. Everybody thinks, oh, it's Fed day and the markets are going to crash today. The markets could go fly up today and crash tomorrow. And this is what they do, because they wipe all the traders out. It's evil. It's such a beast. But we have to look at longer term, what's really going on, what's the broader picture. They want to consolidate banks. They need to consolidate banks. They need to go to central bank digital currencies. And they also need to wipe out all of the fake crypto, the 20,000 cryptos that are not going to be going into the future. So that, what is that going to take to wipe out all those crypto? Because those cryptos are still trading on exchanges and there's still money being poured into those cryptos. How are they going to wipe that out? How are they going to wipe crypto out? In my opinion, they're going to have to create some kind of regulation that wipes that crypto out. So that still has to happen as well. So we're kind of in this suspended stage right now, and the markets are just going sideways, and we're seeing the depletion of the value of our currency at the same time. And I believe that's the major thing that's really happening, because we're seeing the cost of things go up and the value of our current fiat currency go down. That's called stagflation, and that's what we're going into, where the prices of things go up and the value of the currency goes down. All the while, they will create the steps to go to that next phase. And they want banks to go down. So just keep, understanding that they want banks to fail. And they're not really failing, so to speak. They're consolidating the banking, and basically bigger banks are buying smaller banks at pennies on the dollar. And didn't we see a very similar thing happen in 2008 with all the bailouts and all the homes that were foreclosed, and the banks bought them up, all the foreclosures for pennies on the dollar. And, without revealing my personal, private information, what Scott and I have done for at least a decade now is to move out of fiat dollars. We've moved into hard assets that are outside the fiat monetary system, knowing what was coming. And this is how we plan, and this is how we prepare. And many, many have done this. They're moving out of fiat dollars and reinvesting or rechanneling fiat into other assets that are going to be used in the wealth transfer. And that doesn't just happen overnight. And I think that if we think in extremes, we think things are just going to happen overnight, and they don't happen overnight. They happen slowly and then suddenly. And then, it's like we turn around and say, what happened? So we're preparing daily. We have to be aware and alert and sobered and engaged daily on what is happening. We prepare daily. We don't wait for the thing to happen and then prepare. So, when we move out of fiat currency, we have to bite the bullet, because we're basically moving fiat into harder assets and waiting as that system transfers over. And it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of long-term goal setting and study and research. And so, today is a big, big day for the Fed, and a lot of people are waiting for this, but I'm not looking at it that way. I seeing the longer, broader picture on what is happening here. And I am looking at the seals in Revelation, because I do believe it paints a broader picture for us of what is happening. I believe that we are in the tribulation. Many are not maybe even aware of that, because they're waiting for some big thing to happen. And I don't think that the plague was enough for many people, because they think now it's gone, and we have that human nature of, oh, it happened and it's gone and now it's over. No, we're in a compounded tribulation, and the seals have been opened and they are being opened. So I got to run into work, but catch up later. Have a great day.